Made a slideshow of the book?
Well, not totally, because I started to, and I'm like, usually I do a presentation. If I do this for teaching for school, it would be really unbelievably well done. So I'm kind of piecing and parsing. I'm going to give you a little bit of what I started, and then I'm going to jump over to another one, which is an older one, which will give you a little bit more. But this is like an introduction. So this is my creation, and that cover, everybody goes, "Is that you?" No, it's not me on the cover. My nephew, who is an artist, Anthony Fontana, he has been, I called him like a month ahead of time, and he's a very good artist. And I had this blank page. I said, "Oh, he's like, no," he says, "They call me Dee Dee. Don't ask me why, because they couldn't say Claudia when they were children." So he says, "Dee Dee, no," he says, "you got to get something better than a blank page with words on it." So he found this, and we put this together, and I was like, awesome. Now the little heartbeat across the bottom is my little signature logo there. So this little thing here. So he came up with this, and I was like, awesome, that looks great. And the little stick figures that, if you look in the book, we laugh. I go, he's such a great artist. And I call him, I said, "Can you just put stick figures together? I need something." And so he did that for me. So he was an amazing CPR relief for me. He saved my life on that. So I said, okay, who's me? Who is Claudia? I've been teaching 30 years. My specialty was adapted PE. When I was in college, they're like, "Well, you're going to go to grad school?" I said, "Sure." And they're like, "What do you want to do?" And I'm like, "I don't know." And they go, "Well, do you know anything about adapted PE?" And I go, "No, just a little bit." And my softball coach in college said, "I can get you an assistantship in adapted PE at Illinois State." And I'm like, "Sure, what is it?" And it was just it was an unbelievable natural fit. I mean, it's working with special ed kids with special needs, and I just absolutely had a ball with it. I probably learned more from those special ed kids about life in general, because when you think you don't have anything, all I had to do is turn my head to the left or right in a classroom. It's like I've got $1 million of life. And I had kids who were arthrogryposis, or osteoporosis, or muscular dystrophy, and my goal was to make them feel as though, at the time, back in the 80s and 90s, it was like I wanted to make them feel like they were Michael Jordan. And they came in with sad faces, and they would leave with happy faces. And I knew my work was done every time they came in, it was like, "Yeah, we're going to PE class," So that was exciting. And I did that most of my career was 17 years of strictly adapted phys ed work. So teaching a special ed kid who was visually impaired, I mean, severely visually impaired. And my claim to fame with him was I was able to teach him how to strike a golf ball and do it consistently. And I said, boy, if I could teach somebody how to strike a golf ball and keep it, I mean, he didn't hit it far, but he hit it, then, I knew I had something to offer people. And then the last back half of my career, I was in the regular ed classroom. But throughout my career, I coached volleyball, softball, and basketball. And volleyball and softball being my two primary sports. So very successful. I've been very successful. What would the individual player want? Because I mean, Mary, you've probably heard it, and Jack, you've probably heard it. It's just like, I need drills. And I've heard this from many ambassadors across, that I talk to and in the forum. It's like, "Oh, I need a drill for this, I need a drill for that," and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, well, so I broke it down, and then I start thinking, okay, what did we do in volleyball? What did we do in softball? And I said, first, you always start out with your basics. You always bring it down to the individual. So I'd break it down, and I said, okay, let's start with, things you could do by yourself, which are things that I taught in the classroom. I mean, we do, hand-eye coordination, just single paddle stuff, pop it up and down on the paddle, and then move to the wall. So I teach it, and I wrote it just as if I was in a classroom, except hopefully a little bit more detailed. So went from the individual, things you could do by yourself, without a wall, with a wall, without a net, with a net, and then progressively move to working with a partner, a couple partners. And it's also geared toward a ball machine, like Simon.
Oh.
So So you could replace any of the pieces and parts for the most part in the drill, or the initial setup of the drill, the initial delivery of the ball, with a ball machine. So I have Simon, he starts the drill out, hits it to one person. So I can have 3 or 4 people in one drill, each of them doing something different, maybe not as a team thing, but each of them working on a specific skill for drill purpose. So Simon or myself starts the drill off with maybe a shot from the net or a shot from deep. And then the person receiving it is working on a drop shot. Then the second person is doing a dink cross court. Then the third person is receiving that, and they're doing a drink or a pass ball or something down the line. So each one of them is working on a separate skill, but they're all doing it at the same time, per se, and they're all working off of each other.